That laugh echoed through the courtroom like a slap, sharp and cruel. Every head turned when my father did it. That was the moment I knew this day would change everything. My name is Sarah Walker, and I walked into that courthouse holding my mother's trembling hand. She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her, shoulders hunched, her eyes fixed on the floor as if she were already guilty. My father sat across the room in a tailored, expensive suit, smiling like he owned the place. When he saw us, he leaned back in his chair and actually laughed. This wasn't nervous laughter, it was confident laughter. The kind that says, "I've already won." This case was supposed to be simple. My father was suing my mother, claiming she had manipulated their finances during their marriage. He wanted the house, her savings, even the old jewelry passed down from her mother. He had a high-powered attorney beside him, with stacks of papers organized into neat, intimidating towers. My mother had no lawyer. She couldn't afford one. That was his plan all along, to leave her defenseless. As we took our seats, he whispered just loudly enough for the people nearby to hear, "You should have stayed home. This will be over in 10 minutes." A few people chuckled. My mother's hand tightened around mine, her knuckles white. When the judge entered, the room stood. The case was called. My father's lawyer rose smoothly and began his attack, tearing into my mother with polished words and legal jargon designed to confuse and crush her. My mother tried to respond when the judge asked her questions, but her voice shook, barely a whisper. Every time she hesitated, my father's smile grew wider. Then the judge looked at our side and asked, "Mrs. Walker, do you have legal representation?" Before my mother could even find her voice, my father laughed again. "Clearly not, Your Honor," he said, the arrogance dripping from his words. In that moment, something inside me snapped. I stood up. The sound of my chair scraping against the floor cut through the quiet room like a gunshot. Every single eye turned to me. My father's smile froze on his face. "Your Honor," I said, my voice steady despite my heart pounding against my ribs. "I'll defend her." A wave of murmurs rolled through the courtroom. My father stared at me, his eyes wide as if I'd lost my mind. "Don't be ridiculous," he hissed. "Sit down." The judge raised a hand for silence, his gaze fixed on me. "And you are?" "Sarah Walker," I replied, my voice ringing with a confidence I didn't know I had. "Attorney at law. Licensed and in good standing." My father's face drained of all color. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. I walked forward and handed my credentials to the bailiff. The judge reviewed them carefully, then looked up and nodded. "Very well, Ms. Walker. You may proceed." From that moment on, everything shifted. The power in the room changed hands. I dismantled their arguments piece by piece, calmly and clearly, translating their complicated legal claims into simple, undeniable truths. I presented bank records showing my father had controlled every single account, leaving my mother with nothing. I showed text messages proving he had pressured my mother into signing documents she didn't understand. When his lawyer objected, I responded with case law, my arguments sharp and precise. When my father tried to interrupt, the judge shut him down with a stern warning. The laughter was gone now. In its place was a growing sense of panic. The best part? When I called my father to the stand, he wouldn't look at me. Under oath, his elaborate stories started to crumble. Dates changed, numbers didn't match. His web of lies unraveled before everyone. The judge noticed. Everyone in that room noticed. After a tense, heavy silence, the judge delivered his ruling. The case was dismissed. My mother kept her home, her savings, and her dignity. The judge even warned my father about wasting the court's time with bad faith claims, his voice echoing with disapproval. As we walked out, my father wouldn't even look at us. The same people who had laughed at my mother as expense earlier now watched us in stunned silence. Outside the courthouse in the bright afternoon sun, my mother finally let go of my hand and pulled me into the tightest hug I've ever felt. She cried, but not from fear this time. It was the sound of pure, unburdened relief. That day, my father learned a lesson he never expected. I didn't walk into that courtroom as just a scared daughter. I walked in as my mother's defender. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story,